Welcome to day one of the Kidlit Story Kickoff. So, this is a 5-part writing challenge to teach you how to successfully write a children's book. My goal of this challenge is to have you end with a finished draft that you feel confident about. So, today we're diving into the most important part of the writing process, and that's choosing the right story idea. In it, you're going to find an idea that inspires you and helps to make sure that you're connecting with readers and the market too. We're creating something that is going to be marketable and saleable for today. By the end of this video, you're going to know what makes a strong and marketable story idea, how to match your passion to your reader, where to look when you feel stuck or uninspired. So grab your workbook and let's get ready to dive in. All right. Welcome officially to the Kidlit Story Kickoff. So, this is day one of our 5-part writing challenge where we're going to go from idea to finished draft. If you've never met me before, this is your first time attending a workshop like this with me. Hi, my name is Brooke Van Sickle, and I'm the award-winning author and children's book publisher. I'm also a best-selling author of Picture Book Perfection, How to Write a Children's Book That Sells. But ultimately, I'm just a forever children's book lover who is on a big mission to help writers just like you get published. That's why I'm so excited that you are here and that you are participating in this challenge. So, as I was going through my own writing journey and trying to figure out how to get published myself, I began studying hundreds and hundreds of children's books, from picture books to novels, trying to figure out what they all had in common. And what I found, I have condensed down into this simple formula known as the polish method. So this is the method that I teach all my Kidlit Academy students in Kidlit Academy. And it goes: plan your idea, outline your story, let it flow, create that initial draft, sharpen it up so that you can happily prepare to publish. So you're going to be thinking polish all week as we are in this challenge. But we are going to start with that first step, and that is the planning part. We're going to start here because this is the most important part of your story. This is the foundation for your writing, so you want to make sure that you do not skip this. If you got the workbook, you can go ahead and open it up in a separate tab, print it out. You can hit pause if you need. This is going to allow you to follow along and take action using the homework assignments and the worksheets that we are going to talk about in today's presentation. You can also just grab a pen and paper if you would like to just follow along. All right, so let's dive in and talk about your story idea specifically. What does it mean to choose your story idea, and how do you know if it's quote unquote a good story idea? I'm imagining that a lot of you who are attending or listening in already have an idea. But in case you are wondering, well, where can I find ideas, or how can I constantly keep the ideas coming to me? I want you to know that ideas can come from anywhere. They're all around us. They can be inspired by our family, friends, experiences that we had as kids, experience that our own children have, something that funny that we see in real life, if we're going to the store, if we're going to school or work. Ideas are literally everywhere, but as writers, it's our job to sift through these ideas and figure out which ones are actually marketable and saleable. And I like to talk about this especially because at Journey to Kidlit, I founded this whole online program with the firm belief that your idea deserves a place on a child's bookshelf. But the idea is just a spark. It's the fuel that's going to eventually become your book. We just need to make sure that we have the best version possible before we try to submit it to a publisher or try to publish it ourselves. So here is how you can find a good story idea. Well, you're going to want to start with what you know, what you're excited about, what you're passionate about writing. Obviously, you are the best person to tell your story. So don't try to tell a story if someone else had that idea, or if you feel like this is what is selling currently. Really think about, what idea do you want to write about? What feels right to you and what feels like your story? That's going to be the most important motivator to keep you going as we're going through this process, because there's a lot of edits and time that you're going to commit to your story. You also need to know who this story is for. Who will be the intended reader? And the answer is not everyone. So you really need to hone in on a specific age group for your reader audience. And then you need to know how to vet that, how to know if this story is going to sell to a publisher, to an agent, and eventually to readers. So I call that vetting. That's my fancy word for it, but it just simply means doing your research. So we're going to be talking about all of this throughout the rest of the information today. But real quick, if you are writing a children's book and you are not aware of the different categories, children's books are for ages 0 to 18. So that means that there are a lot of categories to cover this wide age range. We have board books for our babies and toddlers, ages 0 to 3. Picture books, which is the most common type of children's book to write, but it's really for about ages 3 to 7, that preschool to second grade audience. Chapter books are when children are starting to read for the first time. So this is ages 6 to 9. Sometimes they go a little bit younger or a little bit older, but they're typically written in series. And then we have our middle grade novels, which deal with a lot of middle school problems, but they're actually written for children ages 8 to 12. And then young adult novels, which are 12 and over. There's early young adult and older young adult. So there's lots of niches that can happen within these categories. But these are the 5 main categories that you will choose as you're working on your story. So that'll help you kind of narrow down your target reader. But when you are developing your idea and you're thinking through that today, I want you to remember that as a children's book author, you have 2 roles. One, to create a story that's engaging and entertaining for those young readers, for our audience. But it also has to be something that an adult is willing to purchase and spend money on, because that's what makes children's books unique compared to a lot of other books that you can write for, is that our audience is not actually the purchasers of the books themselves. So you have gatekeepers like teachers, parents, other adults that children are around that are going to be purchasing these books. But I always like to start with the intended child, the intended reader. Those are the most important people that you should be writing for. And when you create something amazing that's going to be engaging and entertaining for them, or something that's going to hold their attention or make them raise their hand and say, yes, this is me, parents are going to be excited to want to purchase that. Teachers are going to be excited to want to have that in their classroom and to share it. But always be thinking about both. Okay, so let's say you want to write a picture book about a best friend who has to move away. That might be your idea. Now, the way that you want to come at this idea is where the niche is going to come and how you're going to know if it is marketable and saleable. So, to do this, I say you need to vet it, quote unquote, vet. And it just simply means to research the idea against what's already in existence in the market to make sure that it is a viable one that you can sell and pitch. So to do this, you have to research it. So if you're looking for a picture book about moving, you're going to be looking at picture books about moving, picture books about losing a friend, picture books about friendships. Do your research to see what is out there that already is similar to this idea. Select a few and review their data. And we're looking out for 2 signs that we might need to change or come at our idea from a different perspective. So the first thing is that nothing like this at all exists anywhere. If you cannot find a picture book example of your idea, that could be a problem. Maybe it's written in a chapter book, maybe it's written in a board book, but that's where the gap is. But if there is nothing at all that's in the children's book space, we need to be able to prove the marketability. So that's where your challenge is going to come in. Is this truly suitable for a children's book? Is it truly suitable for your audience? Are you the best person to write your book? Is this the best approach and product for your story idea? The other thing is if something identical to your idea already exists. You know, we've had books for a very long time. Millions of books are published every single year. So knowing what is selling, what is doing well, and what is already in existence is going to be the key to help you avoid pitching something that has already been done before or feels like it has already been done before. So if you do find that your idea is very similar to something already in existence, you're just going to want to find a different approach to that, a different point of view, a different perspective, or a different way of looking at or approaching the idea. You can play with this. There are a lot of ways you can play with this, or maybe you just have to scrap that idea for a little while to think on it and pick something else to write about for now. But going back to our example about a picture book about a best friend who moves away, if we were doing this in real life, if we were doing the research ourselves, here are some examples of different comp books that we could compare our story idea to. So, a picture book about moving could be Evelyn Del Rey's Moving Away by Meg Medina. This came out from Walker Books in 2020. It was a Newbery medalist about two friends that do everything together, and one has to move away. So, what is life going to look like now for this friend? That's one perspective about moving. Another perspective about moving is Goodbye Friend, Hello Friend by Corey Dorfeld. So this came out from Dial Books in 2019, and it's a story that shows that even though change can be hard, when one thing ends, something new and wonderful can begin, which can be really applicable to a lot of things, not just moving, but for kids going through big changes in life and helping them navigate those challenges. Another example here we have is New House, Same Underwear by Benda Lee, and this is Summer and Moo of 2021. It's a humorous story that helps kids cope with the change of normalizing their feelings and walking them through the moving process. This is actually more of a what to expect if you are moving in, how to handle the move, things that might come up when you are moving type of book. So these are three books with the exact same idea, a picture book about moving, but are told from very different ideas, angles, and perspectives to create completely different stories. And then this final one here, Moving Away Will Be Okay by Kelly Cart Sears, is independently published in 2020. It's a story to help parents and kids both maneuver the change through the main character's point of view. So this is a very step-by-step approach again, but also different from the last example. And this is an independently published. So when you are still doing your research, be looking at all of the options, be seeing who has any awards, the number of reviews, anything that might show the success of that idea is important when you're doing this research. So once you have your comp books, you're going to want to read those books and determine if your idea is different, how is it different, where is there an opening on the bookshelf that your story would sit between these ideas, and then make any tweaks or changes as necessary based off of those two examples. You know, if you can't find anything at all, maybe we have to find a new reader audience. Maybe we really have to hone in and refine our idea. If there's something already in existence very similar to your idea, can you come at it from a different perspective, angle, or point of view? There is a worksheet to help you do this inside your workbook. So you can go and download that. If you need the workbook, the link is below in the description. You can just go click that and get started. That will help you as you are analyzing these books and help you stay on track. But that is the first step in the polish method. That is the planning phase. That completes day one of our Kidlit Story Kickoff. I will be back tomorrow for our next video. So go work on your idea. Make sure you know who your comp books are. Make sure you know who the research is and dive in. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button and subscribe to get all the content inside our 5-day challenge.